What is the average salary for an entry-level digital marketing job? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. What's happening, guys? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about digital marketing as a career, digital marketing as a job, what type of pay you can expect, what type of jobs are out there, what day-to-day in the life of a digital marketer looks like. The main thing I wanted to touch on here was salary. And I think I've kind of talked about digital marketing as a career in the past, so we'll go a little bit into that as well. Here's one of the things that I think is kind of cool about digital marketing, right? So digital marketing is growing very fast, and it's only going to continue growing. I think LinkedIn recently did a study of the top 10 most in-demand jobs, and I think within the top 3 or top 5, digital marketer or e-commerce manager was one of the top sought-after jobs by employers. So if you get into this space for now in the foreseeable future, it seems like it's a space where you won't have trouble finding a job. Now, with digital marketing, one of the things that I think is really cool about it is college educations are less important, and your skills, your knowledge, and ultimately your performance. If you can drive traffic and make a business money, that's what matters more than anything. And not everybody out there has college degrees. And a college degree really, ultimately, at the end of the day, isn't that important in digital marketing. I would almost compare digital marketing somewhat to like sales, web design, coding and programming. Certificates and degrees don't matter that much. Performance and results do matter. So in sales, if you can sell and if you can make somebody money, they don't really give a shit if you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. In the world of like programming and coding, right out of college, I went and worked for a startup in Chicago, and most of our coders and programmers were like early 20s, had dropped out of college. Most of them said they knew more than their professors, so why are they going to go to college and pay all this money and waste time when they could ultimately teach the class? And really, that's kind of how we hired people. Like we were developing a proprietary ad buying software, so if you came in for an interview, they would ask you to write some code, or they would ask you to do, to basically work on the project they were working on. And if you could do it, you were hired. And if you couldn't do it, you weren't hired. And I feel like that's kind of how digital marketing is. If you come out of college with a degree in marketing, I don't care if you have an MBA in marketing. It's kind of pointless in terms of day-to-day things that are involved in digital marketing. You can come out of college with a degree, but you probably, you maybe have never run a Facebook ad. You maybe have never run a Google ad. You maybe don't even know how Google Analytics works. If you hopped in there, you wouldn't know how to use it or how to interpret the data. You probably don't have any graphic design skills, at least not as a direct result of your degree. So when you come out and start with a company, you are not at all ready to hit the ground running. There's a lot of learning and education that has to go on in terms of like the day-to-day logistics of how to be a marketer. And so I think in a lot of ways, somebody who, I'm not a huge fan of drop shipping, but I think somebody who set up a drop shipping store was able to grow a social media presence. Even if you didn't have huge success with it, just the skills that you learn actually doing real world digital marketing work are probably more sought after and more in demand from an employer than simply a degree is. And I say all this to say that, if you dropped out of college, you didn't finish college, you don't have a degree, you have a degree in leisure studies or feminist studies or something completely unrelated, that's really not going to hold you back in the world of digital marketing. Now, digital marketing, entry level, doesn't always pay that well. There's a lot of agencies that are kind of predatory. I've seen agencies here around the Chicagoland area paying $13 an hour, $14 an hour for digital marketer, entry-level digital marketing positions, analysts, etc. So the pay isn't always great, although it can be good. I think probably starting out with either a degree or a little bit of experience, you can probably expect $35,000 to $60,000, depending on the market that you're in. If you're in New York or California, the pay will probably be higher than if you're in Iowa or something like that. But I think probably $50K is probably a good amount as an entry-level employee starting out. However, that can go up very quickly, right? If you have a very specialized skill like PPC, ad buying, SEO, that's going to be really in demand, and you can make a decent buck, especially if you're proficient in what you do and you can actually, scale. And the more money you spend on ads, the more money you wind up bringing into to a company. And if you can kind of get up to the level of either like a lead of some sort or even like an e-commerce manager. E-commerce managers typically make anywhere from 75,000 to 150,000. It's not super uncommon for an e-commerce manager of a successful company to be making like $300,000 a year. So there is room to move up. I think one of the cool things about digital marketing as a career is that you can, if you're working for somebody else, you're getting exposed to a lot of tools. You're going to conferences. You have access to a lot of programs and softwares that are basically going to put additional feathers in your cap. You're learning additional skills. You're learning more about the industry, and you can use these skills and this knowledge to either freelance or possibly later even start your own business. Freelancing tends to be a little bit more lucrative. As a freelancer, I would expect to make at a minimum like $50 an hour, more than likely probably $75 to $150 an hour. But keep in mind, it's not necessarily steady work. You're not necessarily getting benefits, and that's why the pay tends to be higher. I notice a lot of digital marketers tend to freelance and have side projects and clients on the side. But let's get into the pay, because that's kind of the main focus of today's video. So somebody had posted on Reddit, what's the average salary for someone apply for digital marketing entry-level job? I think they mean somebody applying for a digital marketing entry-level job. Hey, I'm doing digital marketing in college, and I want to know some of the entry-level salaries people started with when applying with jobs. Anybody care to share? And so we'll get into this in a second. One other thing I'd like to throw out there, and this is true whether you're talking about digital marketing or really any other career, staying with a company or being loyal to a company is no longer really valued. Gone are the days when seniority mattered. Now what really matters is performance. I think they say on average, if you stay with the same company, you can expect a 1 to 3 or 2 to 3% raise per year. Whereas on average, when you hop jobs or hop to a new employer, you can expect probably a 12 to 15% gain in your salary. Now, it's kind of stupid because, a company who you're with, who you're already working, you're already functioning, you're already part of the team, you already know your job, you already know the industry. You would think that they would just give you a bigger bump in salary to keep you around rather than letting you jump to another company and get paid more so that they can bring in somebody less experienced who knows less about the industry and the company than you, and then have to train them up to until they ultimately, a year or two down the road, hop to another job to make 15%. That's just how it works. And honestly, in today's job environment, people who hop jobs are seen as being more motivated. They're seen as being more flexible, and they tend to be seen as maybe being a little bit more up on the industry because they're constantly having to keep their skills and their performance at peak because they're always looking for the next opportunity. So there's really typically not a lot to gain by sticking with a company for a long time. And the digital marketing world is a small world, so definitely don't burn any bridges. One thing you'll find working in the digital marketing space, either as a freelancer or an employee, is that you're going to tend to run into the same people over and over. And there's a lot of opportunities to move around based off friendships and networking you make at companies that you worked for in the past. When I look around on LinkedIn or look to friends of mine who I've met through the marketing world and conferences and things like that, I'm constantly seeing people hop from company to company, and people are kind of circling through the same handful of companies. One more thing before we get into the pay, let's talk a little bit about like the type of businesses that you can work for. So we're gonna, the possibilities are endless, but essentially you could get a job with like a Fortune 500 company and be an in-house digital marketer. Those jobs probably more than likely are going to require a degree, just because Fortune 500 companies oftentimes will have blanket policies that like to work there or to work at a certain level of seniority, you have to have a degree. So that's going to be a little bit more structured. Your job is probably going to be much more niche or much more focused. If you're a content writer or a copywriter, that's what you're going to do. You're going to write content or copy. If you're a graphic designer, you're going to do graphic design. If you're a PPC manager, you're going to do PPC. If you're into analytics, you're going to do analytics. At smaller companies and even agencies, you're going to have a chance to get your hands into a lot of different things. So if you're at a smaller company, a smaller agency, or even an agency in general, you're probably going to get some experience in digital marketing or in graphic design. Even if you're not a graphic designer, you're going to develop some basic skills. You're probably going to be pulling some analytics reports. You're probably going to be dabbling a little bit in PPC. You're probably going to act somewhat as an e-commerce manager. Agencies tend to be a great place to get a lot of experience, as well as in-house with small to mid-sized companies. You're going to be a jack of all trades. You're going to be involved in a lot of different things, and you're going to get a lot more experiences in a shorter period of time. If you go with a Fortune 500 company or a larger company, you're probably going to fall into a very specific skill set. In terms of working for like a smaller e-commerce business, you are going to have your hands in everything from social media management to ad buying to pay-per-click to possibly running affiliate programs. You're going to have your hands in a lot of different things, as well as like the day-to-day of running the actual e-commerce business, whether that be on Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, etc. There's not necessarily a right or wrong way to go. Agencies, if you're younger and you're looking to kind of get a head start on your career and get a lot of experience, agencies can be great. It's kind of a work hard, play hard kind of attitude or mentality at agencies. You're typically not paid great. You're working long hours, and everything is always an emergency. A lot of people love that environment. A lot of people hate that environment. In-house jobs tend to be, I would say, less stressful, less chaotic, less long hours, less putting out fires and dealing with emergencies, because you're not dealing with clients, you're dealing with your own business, and there's not necessarily this sense that like they're going to drop us if this doesn't get done right now. So I think that kind of explains kind of roughly kind of the three different areas or types of positions you may wind up getting. So let's look into what are people making. Jack is Ugly says, depending on where you're living, probably anywhere from 40K to 50K annually. Mine was 50K, but I lived in Silicon Valley, so prices were a bit inflated. 50K is really bad for an expensive area like Silicon Valley. Mine was 32,000 in New York City in 2011. That's 40 to 50,000 now. For New York City, which is an expensive city, that's 40 to 50,000 in Chicago, especially Chicago, but even more so Iowa or something like that is going to be a lot more money than 40 to 50,000 in New York City. I was going to say 33K at a huge company in New York City in 2015, although I was overtime eligible, and it actually bumped my take home about 5 to 10K because of how much I worked. But I believe it's increased to 40 in the past couple years. Still absurd, but when you're a household name, people will scramble to work for you for whatever amount. 55K for me being in the Northeast. I would Google this, like, what is the average salary for digital marketers in XYZ area? Normally I've seen 40 to 50K. In my small town, 40 to 43K, but in a bigger city I've seen 50 to 55K. But that's relative when you factor in a difference in cost of living. Somebody says, I need to move to America. It's 18 to 20K here. I don't think he says where that is. Toronto, that's another really expensive city. 50K in Toronto, but that was after a year of working experience. My first marketing position paid 43K. That was in California. Mine was 45K in Chicago. My job out of college gave me a 41K salary. I live in a small town, though, so money goes a lot further than it would if I lived in a city. Try this. Somebody suggests going to LinkedIn salary search. Healthy expectations in general is probably 40 to 50K. 65K in NYC. 55K in Chicago after a year of freelancing experience. 35K 5 years ago in a medium cost of living city. 32 to 40K in Florida. Seems to be around 18,000 pounds to 22,000 pounds in the UK. 36,000 USD in Dublin, Ireland. 30K in Nashville. 35K in suburban northeast town. Got a raise to 40K after 8 months. 30K 2007 southeastern US. If NYC agencies, 35 to 40K is a typical range. My first digital marketing job was 32K in South Florida in a marketing agency. Within 6 months, I was 52K at the same agency. Invest in yourself and learn as much as you can. One of the things about getting a job in digital marketing isn't really a space where it pays to just kind of go with the flow and not really develop yourself and learn more. If you want to do well in this industry, you have to be a self-starter, you have to be somebody who's disciplined, and you have to be somebody who's constantly looking to learn and keep up with things. And that's another thing about the digital marketing world as a whole. Everything is changing so quickly, whether you're talking about selling platforms like Amazon, eBay, Etsy, whether you're talking about social media platforms, whether you're talking about PPC ad buying, everything in this space is constantly changing. What was the case 2 weeks ago may have changed. These companies are constantly changing their algorithms, their policies. SEO is constantly changing. So this is an industry where you're going to constantly need to upkeep your skills and keep up with what's going on in the industry. And that's why it can be somewhat helpful. I think being a jack of all trades is always a good thing, especially if you're a freelancer. Somebody's going to hire you for social media management, but you're going to ultimately wind up managing their website. You're going to be handling their Amazon account. You're going to wind up getting your hands into a lot of different things. So it definitely does pay to have a lot of different skill sets, but I would suggest focusing and getting really good on one thing, and try to figure out what interests you or what your skills are kind of geared towards, and then kind of make that a specialty, whether that's graphic design, content creation, affiliate marketing or affiliate management, PPC ad buying, media buying in general. Try to focus on kind of one skill to get really good at, but be a jack of all trades. If any of you guys are digital marketers, if any of you guys want to share your entry-level salary, if any of you guys want to share what skill sets you find to be valuable or anything else, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button below. That's all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you on the next one. Rules for Rebels, signing out.